Death Watch.
Okay, welcome back. So last game session, you had come into contact with a heavily armored dwarf doing some battle, and after the battle, had an odd interaction with him where he kept mentioning that you were an odd thing for him to imagine, but then at one point he became certain that there should be a staircase in the room where you met him. And after flipping a switch on a nearby pillar, a staircase appeared, and he marched on down, and you followed him. Then the last person was that you, Rohan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as the stairwell began to descend into the floor, you had spotted a shadow against the wall of a large orb with what looked like eye stalks sprouting out from it in all directions. And then the stairwell had finished its descent into the floor and left you in darkness. So you had heard, you can hear down below the clanking and stomping of the dwarf as he leads the way down the stairs. And so let me get that's where we'll pick it back up. So who had followed him first? Is that you, Casimir?
I think I was the last one talking to him.
No,
so.
I went right after him.
Yeah.
Okay. So Fenrith and then Casimir and Graham in some order, and then Rohan.
Yeah, sounds good.
Down the steps. All right. So the enclosed space of this stairwell it's a pretty tight fit. As a matter of fact, this dwarf, as he goes down the steps, quite often his what are they called? The armor on his shoulders will scrape against the stone surrounding you, and you can see that his helmet, which you had noticed last time, has a crown set into it. With his helmet, he's almost as tall as you, and that puts your heads pretty close to the sloped ceiling of this stairwell. So it's a really tight fit, the sort of thing that would make Rohan uncomfortable. But there's no point so far at any rate where you'd have to squeeze through, but there definitely is just space for one person at a time to go down these steps. And then the stone doesn't make for a good sound insulator, so this clanking and stomping and heavy breathing of this dwarf is almost deafening in these small confines. And to make that worse, he generally carries his maul on his shoulder like a pickaxe, like he's a miner off to work, but on occasion he'll flip it to the other shoulder, and sometimes it'll smash into the ceiling and send rock chips flying. So it's not very comfortable to follow him. But down he goes, and you follow, and he's muttering to himself most of the way. And it's hard to pick out anything of meaning in what he says. If I remember right, Rohan was the only dwarven speaker here. Is that true?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So Rohan, through all of his muttering and grumbling and stomping and clanking, the only things you manage to pick out are, at one point he says, "An enigma loves a good joke," and then he laughs for about 5 minutes straight at that. And then a little bit after that, he stops suddenly, and he turns around as much as he's able to look right at you, Casimir, and he says something, but Rohan, you hear him say in the most serious tone, "Significant understanding was always the second best." And then he turns back around and starts stomping back down the stairs again. So
I'm starting to wonder whether or not it was a good idea to follow this guy.
Yeah.
I agree. In Elven, also. Now we got to start making sure he can't understand us.
I think the best part of that is nobody else understands why he was laughing for 5 minutes.
But I did nod when he spoke to me before, without any translation. Just kind of give a, yeah, buddy.
So then this stairwell seems to go on for eternity, because features don't change. It gets to the point where you've been traveling so long that your mind starts playing tricks and you start to wonder if you're actually going anywhere at all.
Oh, God. I know a faster way down.
But it is going in a it is going at a general gentle curve. So there is that. Let me make some rolls here. Okay. After, could have been an hour, could have been 4 hours. It's difficult to say. Finally, he pulls up short, and you can see just beyond the curve up ahead, you can see where the passageway opens up a little bit. So he stops there, and he turns, and he looks at all of you in turn and says, this time in Elven, he says, I haven't been down here in a long time, since I was a boy, but if I imagined you, then there must be a reason I imagine this too. So watch your step and follow me. And remember, a late night makes people shiver. And then he turns around and continues moving. So about 100 feet further, and you can clearly all see where the passageway opens. So the passageway opens onto a small platform, a little outcropping, basically. And he steps right to the edge of it. And so it's about 20 feet by 20 feet. It's got it's got a curve to it at the edge where he stands. And you're looking out into darkness, essentially. So as far as your light will shine above you, you can see the smooth stone wall rising up behind you. And then if you look off to the sides, you can see the same. And the part you can see has a curve to it, almost like if it followed that same path beyond the light, then it would be sort of a circular area, room you're in. But you can't see a ceiling. And when you look down over the edge, you can't see a ground. It's just blackness everywhere. And so he stops there and he's looking down, muttering under his breath. But just from your initial view, it looks like this is where the path ends. So what would you like to do?
Now you don't have anything to say, Graham. What exactly are we supposed to be looking at, friend dwarf?
He gives no indication that he's heard you. And he's staring down into the blackness. You can see his lips moving as he's muttering something, but no words that you can pick out.
I'll step, up alongside him and try and see where he's staring down into and maybe catch a word or two.
Okay. So yeah, you step up next to him. You don't pick out any words that you understand. But you look down into the darkness and you don't see anything. When you look at his face, you can tell his eyes are completely unfocused. He's not looking at anything.
All right. Well, Graham, Rohan, go scouting. What do you say to that?
Okay. Let's see. Do we have a detect magic?
Do you want one?
Yeah.
All right. I'll attempt to cast detect magic.
Actually, I have my own detect magic. I have one.
Ooh, aren't you fancy?
I have one left.
All right.
It only lasts a minute, but
it's better than nothing.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll cast detect magic on myself and start kind of searching around.
Remember, it's concentration. That's why we usually split it up.
Yeah, I think I could.
All right, so you cast detect magic, and then what? There's not a map representation of this area, so we're just going to have to go off our minds. But where did you intend to look, Rohan?
Well, I'll start over by where he is, but with the detect magic, just kind of glance over everything, see if there are any auras that pop out.
Yeah, some insane auras pop from him.
Okay.
But nowhere else. Except, your companions.
Yeah, you're blinded by us and the dwarf.
All right. In that case, I guess I'll start searching for...
Way down.
I don't know what... if there are any hidden passageways down, anywhere where there's like an entrance to a staircase, or if there are even handholds or anything that would lead down from where we are.
Does this ledge we're on go two ways, or is it just one, like, ledge that...
Yeah, you came out of the stairwell onto this platform, and then this ledge is basically a half circle.
Okay. Like a balcony.
Yeah,
almost.
pretty much.
Well, it looks like Graham doesn't have to scout too far due to his lack of flying.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do, Graham, where are you gonna look?
There's nothing that's catching my interest to begin, so I'll just start wherever I happen to be standing and search around.
Okay. Fenrith, what would you like to do?
I am going to wait for Rohan and Graham to scout.
If all else fails, this isn't a very big area. We could just take 20s on our searches.
That's true.
You find that balcony real good.
You find that one indent looks suspiciously like Marissa Torme.
I could throw some dirt out into the darkness like Indiana Jones. That'd be a good payoff.
That's why you filled up the bag of holding
Oh,
dirt.
man, if that turns out to be what's happening here, I'm going to throw you off a damn cliff. Really good scene, though. I like that.
Yeah.
At some point, while I'm near the ledge, I will take a coin out of my pouch and flip it off the ledge.
Was it the darkness coin?
No.
I was going to say, technically, if you do that, we have shadowy vision out to wherever you flick it.
That's true. No, some rogues I was reading about just carry the coin in their hand.
And then
They open and close it as a free action is usually how the game masters rule it.
Wish I'd thought of that when I was playing that Half Fiend.
Yeah.
Been so much easier.
Well, it's not really clear on what they mean by light proof, because depending on what my pouch is made of, that might not be light proof,
Yeah. Well, I think your hand might be more light proof for the object in question. And then
if you put it over the flashlight, you know how
that's true.
A little light still comes through the skin.
But then I'd also still, you wouldn't be getting the full benefit of whatever your darkness was.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're blinking it on and off. You'd need it on for the full round to get your effect, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. So, Rohan, you do spot a area on the left side where this circular outcropping meets the wall, where it looks to you like there are handholds that could be used to climb westward along the wall. From what you can see, it would be a lateral climb.
Okay.
You don't see any area where there are appropriate handholds for climbing vertically, but because of the curvature and the limits of your light, you can't see if it continues on that way or it just suddenly stops.
Okay.
And becomes a smooth wall at some point.
I'll give one more shot at engaging the dwarf in conversation. Say to him, "Do you know where this path leads? These handholds go?"
Okay, so you step up to him and you ask him that, and then his eyes sort of come back into focus, and he stands up straight, and he reaches out his hand and grabs your tunic, and his eyes widen, and he's like, "Yes, I remember. Don't go that way." And while this happens, let me get you a little image here.
I think this dwarf is crazy, Bloodtooth. I say out loud.
Everyone else in the party gives each other the knowing look. At least he can't use magic yet.
Yeah.
Except he sort of can because he's a rogue. Son of a...
Yeah.
Who's a rogue?
Travis.
Oh,
Has he mentioned his stabby vision to us? I can't remember if he has or not.
You might have been able to pick it up depending on certain conditions where I was
Yeah.
following you in darkness. And
I want to say that there's been times where you have said something, not the extent of what it actually is, but like, oh yeah, like that doesn't bug me anymore type of thing.
Yeah.
my experience with crazy people in stories is that we might as well just push them now while we have the opportunity.
Well, they usually have some great information too.
Well,
It's not
all
worth
in-
the price.
this is where we get to do the all in favor, and if the eyes have it, then we get to use that damn quote again.
Which quote?
The eyes have it, said by what was his name? You and Travis were going around with him, the Ashaman.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he says that after the library attack when the bubble of evil spawns all the
That
High
Liam?
spiders.
yeah. Liam, yeah. That's one of the reasons I was really liking playing through that again, was just to hear that damn quote. And then to throw people off the topless towers, which I didn't get to do this time.
you got one.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So on the breastplate of this dwarf's armor, it's covered by a surcoat, but that surcoat has this extremely I can't think of the word, intricate embroidery of a symbol of an anvil with a hammer in front of it. And as he grabs your tunic and his eyes focus and he says, "Don't go that way," that starts to glow really powerfully. But as you look at it, you can see that that glow actually is coming from underneath that surcoat, but it's in that shape.
So can I sense what school of magic it's coming from?
Oh, with your detect magic?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Hang on one second. Okay.
We're getting about to the level where detect magic will start to make you go blind.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything just has overwhelmingly powerful magical auras.
Yeah. I always like the paladins detect evil. Eventually you're just getting like your mind wiped every time you detect it. Because usually all your companions, in my experience, are also evil, so you need to have that reset.
No, they're lawful good.
No, they're not dwarves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like every time I go to play a paladin too, that's when that always happens. No one can be neutral or chaotic good. It's when the evil comes out.
Yeah. I think Gore was the only character we ever had that actually really played an evil character evil.
That's because they were mechanical instincts. Like there were consequences for not following them.
Yeah.
I think Two Blades, old Brandon's character, was a very good representation of lawful evil.
Yeah.
So you're getting a strong aura, and that's coming off of his breastplate there. And then as far as school goes, let's see. So you get the strength and location of each aura. So you're getting a strong aura from all of his items. And then if you want to make a spellcraft check, you can determine the schools.
Sure. Right now I'm just trying to focus on the one that is glowing as he's regaining coherency.
That's charging up. Actually, I'm figuring we're about to have an exploding armor go off. We need to probably bail over the side.
Although I have come to trust that when crazy people tell me not to do something, it's usually a good idea to listen. Because if they're crazy and they still won't do it, then it must be pretty.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a crazy person with a knife telling you not to get any closer. You probably don't want to get any closer.
Yeah.
All right. Did you make your roll?
Yeah. In the tower.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So you're not able to determine.
Okay.
You can, with your detect magic, you get a powerful aura there. But you don't have a long time to look anyway, because he's like, I remember where to go. Haven't been here since I was a boy. But, and then he turns around and he looks at each of you in turn. Which one of you did I imagine would suit this task? Mm-hmm. And he just keeps looking at you, each of you in turn, as if he's really like trying to remember something, not necessarily like he's waiting for an answer. But that's the state he's in now. He's like waiting to understand which one of you he imagined to suit whatever task. You're not sure.
When in doubt, push the rogue slightly forward.
All right. So asking him didn't give much help.
So he starts sort of like, he's got his maul over his shoulder, and he starts doing this little pace thing back and forth while he's looking at each of you. And finally, finally he stops in front of Graham. And he looks you over, and he pays a lot of attention, like once he's looking at your head, right? And he's staring at that little indent you've got in your head. He looks at you and he says, What was your name?
Graham. I was kicked by a donkey.
Ah, a battle wound. Happened when you were a child?
Yeah.
Excellent. That set the pace for you, didn't it?
I don't know what you mean.
I always generally think that hardship breeds strength. No doubt. I imagine that hardship in your life so that you'd be strong enough for the task at hand. Now, one thing you might not know, Elf, is that I am actually, and then he leans really close to whisper in your ear, I'm actually the king of this entire realm. See the crown? Steps back and he taps his crown. Says, now.
I'll shoot a frightful glance at my companions.
He says, the way is blocked, as you can see, but you can open it for us. And he, puts his arm around your shoulder and starts herding you towards the edge, the right side edge, opposite of the side that Rohan was finding the handholds. Do you resist?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it depends.
Are you looking over your shoulder for saying frightful look?
Does
Guys?
it kind of look like he's about to throw him off?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like he's got that in mind. But he's herding Graham over towards the edge, and he says, there was an ancient guardian set in place to keep this way shut, and it will take someone of the utmost elvishness, and by that I mean sneakiness, in order to get past this guardian.
Well, I don't think that's me, Sir King Dwarf.
Impossible. Otherwise, I would have imagined somebody else. Now here. So he reaches into his, he's like a pouch at his belt, and he hands you something. And he says, take this. And you look in your hand, and it looks like a small dried mushroom.
I got a bunch of these in the bag of holding.
I'll smell it. Maybe identify it, possibly.
Okay.
Survival. 7.
You got a 7?
Yeah, let me do this too. Yeah, so I'll look at it without hesitation. I'll just pop it in my mouth, chew it up, and swallow it. Thanks.
Oh my God.
I was kind of hungry. How did you know that?
All right. So yeah, you pop this mushroom in your mouth and chew it. Now, you had said you were going to smell it. It smells like, well, actually, I don't think we know what that smells like in real life.
Oh man, should have finished that book before we came down here.
It had a earthy hay like sort of scent to it, right? Which to you it smells like saffron. And then you pop it in your mouth and you eat it. So here's what happens.
Graham, the elf that ventured through time now. Actually, I guess we are already venturing through time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does this just mean you go to the future?
Maybe this elf will get to meet the machine elves.
All right, do a Constitution or a Fortitude save, please.
I like to think that the second he popped the mushroom in his mouth, he heard 3 simultaneous forehead smacks.
Or at least all three of us like start to reach out to stop him. Like, grab.
No.
All right, so
It's got an earthy taste, guys.
Except you say it backwards.
Usually
you take this mushroom and you chew it up and swallow it, and it smelled pretty good. It does not taste anywhere close to good. But you swallow it, and
look of betrayal will cross my face.
yeah,
So
the effects are almost immediate. You get this extreme idea of pain in your stomach, but just the idea of it. You're not sure if it is real pain or if you're just imagining it. And then the ground begins to rock gently in a perfectly timed pattern. There's no randomness to it like on a boat, although that's what the rocking sort of reminds you of. It's just more perfect. It would be like you're standing on the pendulum of a clock and the world is rocking back and forth. And while that's happening, you blink, and when you open your eyes again, you can see off in the direction that he was facing you into the darkness, there is a set of glowing, translucent platforms leading down in a general down grid off of the edge of this platform. So you can see those. You couldn't see them before.
yeah.
Do let's see, you already did your Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now do the will.
Save or
Yeah, will save, yeah.
No, still pretty low though. I was hoping for that 1.
All right, so Graham sees those and doesn't realize that he hadn't seen them before. To him, they've been here the whole time.
Just didn't notice them.
Well, here's how it plays out. You know, it's like I'll be clutching my stomach, and then there's that rocking. So I kind of have like a pain thing, but I want to put like one hand out, and I'll start going like this.
It's a good thing I have my water walking ring on.
And I want to do that for like 2 minutes with this guy.
All right, so Casimir, Fenrith, and Rohan, you guys had stayed back, and now you're watching, and you'd seen him hand something to Graham, and Graham, put it in his mouth. And then as you watch, Graham just puts his arms out, and then he starts rocking back and forth. And he's got a really good smooth rhythm to his hips, you notice, as he's rocking back and forth. Well, the dwarf looks at him for a second, but then he laughs and he starts up the same motion. And he's got his arms outstretched, sort of like on Graham's shoulder, like two drunk friends stumbling down the road singing a song. But he starts swaying back and forth, and he's, his cape is gently brushing the floor, swaying, and he's laughing. So that's all you guys can see.
Is this some type of ritual?
Yeah.
I don't know, Fenrith. Let me see. Oh, I rolled low.
What are you trying to determine?
The potential arcane, was that somatic aspects of this ritual that they're doing?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I can't determine.
It does. It doesn't look like it to you. Like there's any magic going on here.
It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen. If anything, I would say perhaps they're drunk.
Then at some point I'll be like, down the steps we go. Where they go, nobody knows. Then I'll take the first step down.
Wait,
Don't forget to punch
that
the dwarf first.
has alcohol mushrooms? I ran out of wine a long time ago. So
We have.
Don't forget to punch the dwarf before you start down.
I'm the king now.
Yo, take his crown and run off into the darkness.
Yeah, I'll put my foot down on that. Right, you said it was like steps or platforms going. Are there gaps in between each one, or?
Yeah, there are. So yeah, let me give you a little more description as far as that goes. So the dwarf, he's swaying next to you, and you sort of forget him every couple of seconds, and then you're like shocked to see him there again, and like you feel the weight of his hand on your shoulder, and it's like at one point oppressive and heavy, and actually slightly aggravating, and then at another point you forget it's there, but he looks at you and he's got this smile on his face, and he says, "Yeah, might have taken some of those for fun over the years, might not have, but that's the direction, and only you can travel it. There's no other way across this chasm, and it'll take all you got. All you got for sneakiness to get past the guardian." And then as you do this swaying, the thought does occur to you, Graham, that each one of those steps is going to take some athletic ability. It's not going to be as simple as walking. But what you notice is that these steps are perfectly matched to this sway that you're doing, this rock of the world, right? They're perfectly matched to that. So it's something that can be, their position can be predicted.
Okay. So what, am I tumbling along these?
Right. So what we're going to do is, from where you're standing, you can see them stretching out into the darkness at a downward angle for about 100 feet. Well, actually 90 feet is what you can see. Further than you actually can see. You can see these things. So they've got this sort of purplish glow to them. And yeah, each one is just enough away that it will require some activity. So I think tumble's probably good if you want to do that. Unless, let me look.
Graham, how do you do this? Do you just make up your mind 1 second to go and just
Tumble head off
go?
like a balcony.
Because from our point of view, it's going to look like you're just jumping off into nothing.
Oh, I would like to note that I make a note mentally to potentially grab Graham, and then probably will dismiss it.
Well, the way I'll do it is, since they're swaying with sort of this metronome action, is I'll wait till it reaches like the termination of one side, and then I'll kind of cartwheel to that platform and then the other one. So
yeah, I think tumble's going to be the perfect skill for this.
No, wait, stop.
I'm probably going to go diving off after him when he makes that first tumble.
Well, probably I was doing this thing and then I saw the steps and then I'll get on one hand and do the first cartwheel. It happened pretty quick.
Yeah.
Wait, are we trying
So you
to
better get
cross
ready.
a chasm here?
He's crossing a chasm. We can't, most likely.
Far away? How far is the chasm across?
We don't see the other side.
Yeah, you can't see anything but darkness. And he's been the dwarf has been talking to Graham over by the edge, and you haven't really heard what he said. So it is true that you guys wouldn't know that Graham actually has something that he sees to land on, and you also wouldn't know that that could not exist entirely because he took a mushroom, and who knows if it's just a hallucination or not. So anyway, let's deal with that then. Graham, you're gonna tumble out there?
Tumble away.
Okay. So the rest of you see Graham take a couple steps and hop off of the edge. Now, any action that you'd want to take in relation to that couldn't happen before you do realize that he's landed on something solid out there. And it's not like the downward angle of this, it's not so great that you can't still see Graham from where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since that's one of my lower possible rolls, I suppose I'll have got right at the edge of that platform, and I'm kind of windmilling my arms, wobbling back and forth.
Okay.
For a moment. Assuming I succeeded.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So the dwarf turns around and he says, well, we'll just have to trust that he can come through for us. So wait here with me, lads. And he comes over to back where he was originally standing.
All right.
Says, this is where the path will open up if our friend's successful. Which he has to be. Otherwise, why would I go to the point or the trouble of imagining him? I could have imagined much more pleasant things. Let me tell you. And have.
Good point, sire.
So he plops his maul, the head of his maul on the ground and leans on it, sort of like a cane, and stares off into the black.
I'll sit down and pull out my pipe and tobacco.
Okay.
After Graham moves to the second spot, I was going to, activate the fly on my armor and try and see if I can land on the first one.
All right. So you're going to go off of, like, memory?
Yeah, off of where he had landed the first time.
All right. So here's what we'll do. So you move over and do that. But before you reach the edge, you notice when you activate that fly, there's it doesn't activate.
Okay.
And you fall to your doom.
Well, I mean, if you want to make it dramatic and like say that you ran and jumped and then activated, then yeah, you would fall to your doom. But I don't see any reason why you would do that in this case. So, like, you activate it as you're moving over, but it doesn't activate. So it's an odd feeling because it's not like the ability is like you can't feel it there anymore. You can still feel that you have that your armor has that ability. It just won't activate when you command it to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go back and try and get the rope and ask Fenrith to hold on to the other side as I try and follow Graham. So I'll tie one side of the rope around me, and then I'm going to try and make the same jump that he did to the platform.
Okay.
I think that
So,
we should trust in our companion.
Yes, but we just got Graham back.
But the fact that he made it back to us is what I'm really counting on, is that he'll be able to do it again.
Never mind the fact that he's currently blasted off into outer space.
Yeah, he was just swaying with the ocean. It's a lot of dice being rolled in the background.
This is all your fall damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Rohan, so you tie this belt around your waist, and Fenrith, are you going to hold on to it? Are you going to give in to Fenrith's protests, Rohan?
I'm worried about Graham, so I'm still going to try.
Rohan, there's obviously some sort of magic going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there something happening? We've got to trust in our companion. Because
all right,
I don't think that I could hold you if you jump off of this thing. As I only have.
I agree with Fenrith, but if you really are determined to do this, I won't stop you.
All right. So the dwarf, he says that smells good. Do you have any more? He's pointing at your tobacco.
I do, sir. I'll pass him the pouch.
Excellent. Thank you. We never could make our own. We always got it from our elven friends.
What do you weigh?
That was a long time ago.
But
yeah, he pulls out this beautifully ornate ivory pipe and starts filling it and getting it lit. But he does happen to like glance over while he's taking his first puffs from his pipe and sees Rohan and Fenrith with the rope, and he just sort of shakes his head, says, "Magic's too powerful. You can't trick it."
They're impatient, sire. Just let them have their fun.
Oh, it won't be fun. And I can't promise I'll imagine any new friends for you soon. Can't you see? And he just sort of does a lazy point up because he's looking back towards them now. So you're looking towards the opening into the stairwell and the wall above. Now you see a massive rune is emblazoned on that wall. You're positive was not there before, but as he points, it is there, and it's about 20 feet by 20 feet in surface area. This massive rune. And you don't know the dwarven language, but you catch a ton of elven influence in it.
Can I spellcraft it, or is it actual just writing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a rune. It does have sort of a glow, so you could.
And with my equipment, I'm roughly 170 pounds.
Right, and you rolled. Okay.
Yeah, I can. That's over my liftover head weight.
Okay, so this. You look at this rune and it is glowing, so there is some magical thing about it, but you can't like determine a specific spell.
Okay.
That it denotes. Only the general sense of a group of spells would be the best way to describe it. So you can look at this thing with your spellcraft and you can see portions of it that would perfectly match what's necessary for certain glyphs, like warding or for sure warding. Another one would be what's the other one? I forgot.
Good old exploding.
Yeah, right. There is one like that, right?
Yeah, there's
like fire glyphs and things like that. So that's the sense you get from it. It's like, and you remember now from your training, it's like you had an hour on this because it's not well known, but you did do a bit of reading about ancient conflicts between elves and dwarves and how the dwarves could never match the elven affinity for magic, but that at some point, some dwarves either learned or gained access to or were taught what was called rune magic. And this was a magic where the spells were put into intricately carved runes, whether it be in stone, even paper, but for the dwarves it was always in stone or on their armor or equipment. So it was a different way of doing magic, but the effects were very real and very powerful. And that's what you're detecting on this thing.
Rohan, I changed my earlier statement, and I definitely agree that you probably shouldn't do this.
And the dwarf's like, yeah, listen to your friend.
I'll point to the runes that have begun to appear. There's powerful magic going on here, Rohan, and I see several runes of or I see several hints of explosive as well as warding. If you go out there, you may trigger these.
Yeah, the magic can't be fooled, son. It can't be fooled. There's one way to get past here.
How am I supposed to protect Graham's back if I'm never with him?
You're supposed to trust in your companions.
I trust in him, but...
Trust him to do the right thing and to be able to see this through. He already survived without us. That's probably more than any of us can say.
Still, sending him off into danger without being able to help him grates at my nerves.
I'll say, no, look, he's having fun, and then point out into the darkness.
Which appears to be true. So, Graham, do another roll.
Mushrooms affecting you.
Wow.
All right.
Use a hero point. Don't make me a liar.
Skill. It's a skill, man.
Put a reflex save in the tower for me. All right, so you don't make it to that next one. Like your foot barely misses it, but you do manage to get a hold of the edge with your hands, and then now do another tumble. And so what you guys see is Graham. He makes a leap, and his feet don't make contact, but his hands do. And then he does this, gymnastics move where he just swings and flips up and lands on the next one beyond that. And so you guys don't know that he was close to disaster. To you, it looks like he's just done a really skillful
showboating,
gymnastics move. But Graham, even through the effects of this mushroom, your heart is pounding because you realize how close you were to death there. It seemed to you when you grabbed a hold of the edge and you were looking down, like probably from the effects of the mushroom, but it seemed to you like the bottom is twice as far away as a bottom can be. So your mind's being messed with these distance concepts, but it's terrifying. So your heart's pounding, but we don't need to do. Let's see. What's the lowest you can get on tumble?
That was it.
You just
18.
got it.
All right. So what we'll do then is put 10 more tumble rolls into the tower.
How far can we see him down there?
All right. So here's what you do. You do 5 more of these leaps, and now you've reached where when you had been standing on the ledge, it looked like these steps followed the general curve of the wall. But after 5 more of these jumps, now you see that there had been some sort of reflection or trick of the eye, because now the next platform actually cuts sharply into into the wall, basically. And that's when you guys lose sight of him. He just takes a sudden jump to the right, and from your angle, it really does look like he jumps into the stone wall, and that's where you guys lose sight of him. So, Graham, you've made this leap into what has turned out to be a very narrow passage through this wall. It's just 10 feet wide enough that you could still fall to either side, but it does bring walls closer to you. And a ceiling, actually, you can see at the limits of your light. At this point now, you can see a ceiling, but below you is still nothing but blackness. And then you manage the rest of the jumps with no difficulties whatsoever. But at this point, these platforms are not going downward. It's basically straight.
Okay.
You're jumping. But the distance between them is maintained, and the gentle rock of the world is also maintained. And then finally, you see the platforms end, and the last jump is onto another outcropping, much like the one you started from, just much smaller. It's basically a 5-foot balcony, and then a dark hole into the wall, into a tunnel. And then the rest of you, once you've lost sight of him, the dwarf looks back over the edge and starts staring down into the blackness and muttering to himself while he puffs away on his pipe. And he, about every 10 seconds, stops and looks at you and says, "This is very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good tobacco in a year, 1,000. Time has little meaning for me." Then he continues staring off. So.
I guess I'll join him near the ledge looking down. He's got to be waiting for something. So,
right. So during the time that Graham is making the final jumps after he went out of sight, that's what you're doing, and looking down there and puffing on your pipe. And we're talking, an hour.
Yeah.
is how much time this all takes. So it's not clear to you that he is looking or waiting, but he is just sort of staring off down there. Everybody make a listen check.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually turns out to be Fenrith that hears a sound first, because there's not really sound down here right now, except for like the shuffle of your own feet. And so it's so quiet, in fact, that you can hear the tobacco as it burns when they're puffing on their pipes or whatever. But anytime someone shuffles their feet, it sounds loud, and, hooks and buckles and jangling when anybody moves. And so Fenrith, you're sort of leaning back against the wall, just waiting, and you start to hear what sounds like a whistle, sort of.
All right. So I'll, stand up straighter and exclaim that he's done something.
What
and
makes
I'll
you say
start
that,
walking towards the edge as well. And then I'll ask if anybody else can hear the whistling.
I'll perk a ear, kind of tilt my head.
Yeah, so as you step towards the edge, Fenrith, that's when you can hear that the whistle seems to be coming more from where Casimir and the dwarf are standing, although from deep below. And then when he mentions it, Rohan and Casimir, you listen, and Rohan, you hear it pretty quick. Casimir, it takes it takes about 30 seconds, and then you can start to hear it. And it sounds like, let's see, it's like a low pitch whistle. It's sort of what it sounds like.
Is it like a distant train?
It does sound a lot like that, yeah. And it sounds like it's coming from down in the darkness below where Casimir and the dwarf are standing.
So as it gets louder, I'll look nervously at the dwarf and ask him, was this what we were waiting for?
Yeah, so he pulls his pipe out of his mouth, and he looks over at you slowly, and his eyes are still unfocused, and he says, "What do you say?"
So was this what we were waiting for?
What are we waiting for?
The whistling. And I'll wave.
Whistling?
I'll wave my hand towards the darkness.
He says, "Nonsense. I don't hear any."
So
wait a minute.
I'll cast a nervous glance.
Silent. And then he cocks his ear and he shakes his head. Then he drops to the ground and, sticks his head over the edge and listens. And then he, much quicker than you would expect to be possible, he leaps back to his feet and grabs his hammer. And he says, "No, run!" Graham, you've made it to that solid ground again, and now you stare at a long tunnel, a narrow tunnel. From your sight, it looks like it goes unnaturally straight.
Okay. Well, I'll search around and then I'll move half speed, move quietly down this tunnel. But I'll search before I go into it.
Okay.
Make sure there are no traps. Here's my move silently.
Okay. You spot a trap in the entrance.
Okay.
So, let me get you the... All right, so you spot a pit trap.
These are tricky.
Right inside the entrance. And once you can see it, it's easy to see. It extends for 10 feet. So it's long and just as wide as the cavern.
Okay, I'll try to disable the mechanism that makes it open rather than try to leap it.
All
I
right.
think that's probably beyond my jumping ability.
Okay, let's do your disable device. All right. So you get to you kneel down and you start trying to disable this so it can't open, basically. But you fudge it and it pops open. So the floor basically dissolves, just turns into dust and falls down. And then down in that hole, which you can see is 60 feet deep, you can see enough to notice that it opens up into a wider room down there, but every inch of what you can see is covered with writhing, moaning, rotted corpses pushing against each other and clawing at the air, like towards you. Ghouls, basically, but packed in as tight as possible.
Now how am I going to get by it? I'll look at the walls and the ceiling.
All right. Inside this tunnel, the ceiling of it is 10 feet up, and the walls are pretty rough. So you might be able to get handhold on the wall, but it would be pretty difficult to climb laterally along the wall.
Yeah, I'll drop my bag down and start looking through it, seeing if there's anything that will help me.
Okay.
Bust out your spikes for your boots. Start climbing. Or crowd surf the ghouls.
Right.
And what's worse, in your guys' opinion, right? Falling for eternity on the platforms, if you miss one of them, or falling into a bunch of ghouls?
Ghouls for me, I think.
Yeah?
Probably falling for eternity for me. That's a really long, slow death.
Yeah. You die of starvation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always the one that kind of got me in Wheel of Time, was when the, what was it? The Maiden of the Spear, was it? Fell off?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How long do you think she went before she called it quits?
It'd probably be pretty quick for me, especially like she's armed. So
Yeah.
she's got a way out, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah, I think she probably didn't wait too long. They have convictions and all that,
I think beyond just the falling, like it's basically a sensory deprivation, like to the extreme.
That said, there is a chance in the male traveling of potentially finding a way out, because males share a space when they're traveling.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they don't know about velocity and sudden stops and all that stuff, because they don't have that, they haven't, reasoned that stuff out. So you open up your way gate and you make your platform to catch this falling Maiden of the Spear. She just either explodes, or you reach out with air to stop her and she just pops, basically.
Well, do you think that you could manipulate your platform as far as
make
the
it
resistance
springy?
of it goes? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because all of that stuff was just done
Well,
with the mind, right?
Well, it did also happen when Rand extends his platform beyond a certain extent, begins to sink into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's possible, but you're still got someone falling at terminal velocity. What is terminal velocity in the ways, too? I mean, it seems like gravity acts the same. So.
Yeah, and if there's no air resistance, then there really isn't a terminal velocity.
So the dwarf color drained from his face, and he says, "Run." And then Graham, you are standing in front of that opening in the floor now from the trap. You can see the ghouls down there, and we'll keep with you for now. What did you want to do about that?
Yeah, so after digging through my bag for a little bit, I'll close it with a huff of frustration, sort of snap my fingers. Oh, well, it looks like I'm just going to have to jump it. I'll secure the bag again and see how much room I got to work with here.
I like the picture, distorted Casimir face telling you about speed and distance, except it's all backwards.
This is that classic memed out thing where all the math symbols start floating in front of and then a mean Casimir face comes floating by.
No way. This is like
I am disappoint,
like 80s
Casimir.
or 90s movies where you are on like a dirt bike. You rev your engine, determination in your eyes, flip down.
Oh, do
your
we get a
helmet's
power
visors.
ballad?
Yeah.
And then the tiger starts playing in the background.
Except you click your heels together instead of rev your motorcycle, which fits the 80s a lot too. So you're still good.
So yeah, I need 20 feet if I'm going to do the base jump DCs. Otherwise, they're doubled. It was 10 feet across, is that right?
Yeah.
And then with my haste boots on, I get a plus 12 to my jump from the increased speed.
Right.
Do you want that in the tower?
Yes.
Do you want a penalty applied to my overall roll as I likely close my eyes after I launch myself into the air?
Unfortunately. Oh, okay. After you launch yourself in the air? I was going to say, because with.
No, never mind.
No, he's still stoned out of his mind on that mushroom, so.
Well, that wouldn't.
He's probably like floating through the air.
I waited till the hallway got to this side before
I was going to say that if he closed his eyes while moving, that would immediately drop it down to 5 feet around.
I'm blind.
And I believe it's, only partial movement? It's just, your 5 foot movement. So
There's that jump.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Put it in the tower so you could fudge it for me.
No, we don't. We don't need to do that. You got a 36.
Nice, man.
I'm not accustomed to traveling this way, so I probably went for as far as I could launch myself.
It's going to be one of those times where he jumps over the pit that he saw.
Into the other pit.
Into the other pit.
So I guess without the running, that would have been like 15 feet or so.
It's a pool of acid. The other pit.
Okay.
Either that or there's like a wall of force on the other side that he just flattens himself against.
Yeah, so you take off running and you leap across this pit. You can see down below you the ghouls like clawing for you, even though they're way too low.
I can hear them anyways.
And they're moaning and, bones are clacking against each other and making all sorts of racket. But you easily clear the pit and land on the other side. So you've got what looks to you to be about 30 feet before the scenery changes.
Okay, I'll gather myself up and turn the haste boots off and start sneaking again.
Okay. All right, roll your sneak.
Is it ghouls that if you die by their filth fever, you raise again as a ghoul? Is that the infection that they have?
I definitely believe that they start doing that type of stuff around that level. I don't know if you raise as a ghoul or just a zombie, like under their control. But I think you are right on that, though. That
just couldn't bear to be something that can't be sneak attacked.
My kidney used to be here.
Yep.
Ghoul fever.
Yeah.
Not filth fever, yeah.
An afflicted human who dies of ghoul fever rises as a ghoul at the next midnight. Ooh.
Didn't I get that? Didn't I have ghoul fever for a little bit?
You got something like that.
You've gotten a bunch of diseases.
All right, so you sneak up ahead, and the change in scenery turns out to be, get you on a map here.
Just a springboard for evolution.
You're the, was it vampire in Blade 2?
Right.
It has the weird jaw.
Where are those reapers? There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the next evolution of undead, which technically doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right. That makes absolutely no sense.
Well, what are Marvel vampire? Like, what's their origin?
Oh, I think there's a couple different ones. I think that there is an actual. Are you right, Marvel?
Yeah. Marvel, because that's what the Blade vampires would be. Right?
Yeah, there is an actual like supernatural type, and then there's also a scientific vampire in the comic books. I believe. I'm not too big on the Blade stuff because like Morpheus, or was it Morpheus? Oh, dang, I can't remember. He was a Spider-Man villain.
For the Blade ones, I thought that it was
Mobius.
a virus. For the Blade ones, I thought it was a virus for the majority
that
of them.
caused vampires. Yeah,
but
at least from the movie.
Yeah, but then there were like the pure bloods as well that were different in some way that they didn't really specify.
I think it was just that they were pure blood. You know, they were born that way in the movies anyway.
It was like class divide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had, what was his name? That one.
But sort of arbitrarily, Deacon Frost.
Yeah. No, the other one. He's always playing like Nazis.
Yeah, I know you're talking. I can't remember what his name is.
But I've never seen the sun.
Right.
I like him. He's a good actor. He was really good in Cigarette Burns. Gets to put his guts through a movie projector.
Okay. So, Graham,
Unpleasant.
here's where you find yourself.
So what happens when you watch Angel snuff films? Don't do that.
So you should be able to see the map now.
It wasn't on my calendar.
Well, who knows what the Green Fairy can show you.
Do you?
I don't see anything on it or my token.
All right. So
Just took a year off my life. Stifling that sneeze.
Oh, you feel it go back up into your brain and loosen
Hurt
the
my chest. I should have let it out. I've become accustomed to full-on dad sneezes, which are so satisfying.
Oh, dude. My favorite was when I was a kid. I would just stick my tongue out when I sneezed, and it would be this big old raspberry.
Yeah.
I'd always do it at my sister because she was annoying me.
do you see it now?
No. You try putting it on the table. No, still got nothing. Just blackness.
Looks like a bunch of bricks to me.
Strange.
Do you want me to try popping out, loading back in or something?
No, let me try something.
You're dead, Graham.
And then they cast somebody for Mobius. Isn't Jared Leto doing that or something?
Oh,
Not a fan.
Yeah, he is.
not a fan of his method acting.
I don't think it's a MCU one though. I think it's a
Sony Spider-Man.
Sony. Yeah, it's part of this
Yeah.
the Spider-Man universe. Did you?
Oh, man.
I think I slept through his because I didn't make it all the way through.
Apparently, there was a bunch left on the cutting room floor of him in his defense.
Okay, I see a token now.
Okay. So that's what it looks like for you. You're looking at a little staircase leading down up ahead.
All right. Let's sneak up. I'm going to favor the wall on my right-hand side. So yeah, we'll just go up 20 feet or so, top of that staircase.
Okay. Yeah, so you go up there and you're looking down this broad steps and it looks like the tunnel curves up a little bit ahead.
I'll search the steps for traps based off of random intuition.
Your intuition would be is suffering, right?
Right.
Due to your lack of wisdom.
So I check the place where I live back on the island for traps.
But
and
your
stuff like that.
intuition is also further suffering from a magic mushroom.
All right, so you're searching for traps along those steps.
Yes, Game Master.
I think you're the frat boy that accidentally gets drunk and beats someone to death. Because that's a dangerous combination of stupid that you got going on right now.
You spot a trap.
I knew it.
This is a mechanical trap, and you look up. You're following the lines that you see, just the odd clues you pick up in the stone, and determine that this. If you trigger this trap, the ceiling will fall in on you.
Is there an easy way I can bypass it, or?
Yeah, so you would have to jump over the steps, like not use the steps, just jump down.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so you won't be able to do that quietly.
It's a trade-off.
Okay.
Hopefully I don't alert the Guardian. Did you need a roll?
No, we don't, do we?
I don't know.
Because you can that's what, 10 feet. And
Well, I could...
and it's a decline, so... Well, just do a jump. Just do a jump roll and we'll see what happens.
Well, I'll click on my haste for another round.
Okay. Yeah, so it's no problem. So you land here, and as you land, you see around the corner up ahead something, and I shall describe it to you momentarily. Okay, so This thing you see has a long snake. It looks like a snake coiled up at first, but then you see, rather than a snake face, it's a human face. This one, it's difficult to determine looking at the face what the age or sex is, but because it's like curled up and it looks to you like it's sleeping. But as you land and you spot it around the corner, it starts to stir.
Okay. Well, I think once I see it stirring, I'll use that greater invisibility I have in my ring.
Okay.
And then start moving quietly away from where I made the sound.
All right.
So half speed, I'll favor the wall on my left now. So a ring of invisibility and then half speed.
Okay.
Rings are command word activation.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So,
there was one other spell in the ring, right?
Yeah. I think it was Obscuring Mist.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And how long does that last these days?
8 rounds.
yeah, let me put that on you here. All right. So we'll put invisible on you. And right now you've got haste on, right?
No, I
Okay.
will turn it off.
All right. Now, yeah, so you turn on that haste ring and you move over there, or the visibility, and you move over there, and this creature is beginning to stir. Fenrith, Casimir, and Rohan, back to you. So the dwarf says, "Run!" And the colors drain from his face, and the ground starts to shake underneath you pretty violently. And he's trying to stagger to his feet, and he says, "It'll never stop hunting me." And as he says that, the ground shakes even more violently, and then out of, like, Casimir, you're at the edge looking down, and then something bursts out of the ground underneath you, out into the darkness, and curves up and begins moving up towards you. So this thing is, it's so black that most of it can't be seen against the darkness of the chasm. You just catch a glimpse of, a horn or tooth or something like those things. But you can get the general idea is that this thing is massive, like just enormous. And let me get you the best description for what you can actually see here. Like it's an enormous worm.
Mm-hmm.
But it's covered with when you get just the right reflection, you catch that it's covered with plates of like chitin is basically, but rather than smooth, it's plates, sort of like a dragon's scales in a way.
Okay.
And the part that you can see now as it's curved up is its mouth is wide open, and it's, 10 feet. You could easily just hop in there. And so a lot of it is still hidden, being in the stone underneath you. But this portion has burst out and is moving up in your direction right now. So let's do a initiative. Graham, you roll one too, just so we can.
But, yeah, I think I'll mirror the dwarf's earlier statement. While looking down, I'll just kind of look down. I'll be like, run.
Yeah. All right, let's figure out how best to represent this here. Well, with our imaginations. So it goes. So what Fenrith and Rohan, what you see, this dwarf is trying to get to his feet, and Casimir says something, and then this just massive creature bursts into vision from below the edge and rises up about 10 feet above your heads. And you see what I had described as enormous worm with a gaping maw filled with odd teeth, and its skin is covered in reflective chitinous plates, and even though there's light now from you guys, it's still hard to tell where this thing ends and the darkness behind it begins, but it rises up into the air, and so quickly that it defies belief, it immediately attacks that dwarf. Like it knew where he was, and it's going directly for him. So, all right, so the dwarf hasn't managed to get to his feet yet when the entirety of this of the dwarf is covered by the maw of this worm as it slams down on top of him. It bites into the stone. So you just lost all sight of that dwarf, and the force of the worm's attack was so great that it's broken the rock underneath it. So Rohan, that'll bring us to your turn. So this thing is 15 feet around, and you don't know how long it is because most of its length is below the edge, but the amount you can see, it's at least 15 feet long as well.
Okay. I guess I'll target it and fire 2 arrows.
All right.
And then make my move towards the stairs.
Yeah, you should be able to target it on the combat tracker since we don't have a map.
Yep. There we go. So yeah, 2 arrows with 1 shot. Where do I have that? All right. Looks like I missed it.
Yeah, so your arrows just, they hit it, obviously, but they just deflect off like you shot at solid stone.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll move to the base of the staircase.
Oh, okay. And then we will... Okay, so yeah, Graham, you're standing over there, and it had started to stir, but you've turned yourself invisible, and you're trying to be quiet. And it seems for a moment that it's going to go back to sleep, but then suddenly it rouses and rises up, and turns its head to look in the direction the sound came from. So your initial impressions turn out now to have been totally incorrect. This is not ugly at all, and it's clearly a female face, and it's extremely beautiful, which has a sort of revolting effect to see it attached to the body of a snake. But she's scanning her eyes over in that direction, and she moves over a little, which is, her snake body's uncoiling, and she moves over. This one is, you're guessing 15 feet long from head to tail, and her eyes are really bright, like almost like they're giving off light. And she speaks out in a language, let me make sure, in common, which you understand. And she says, "Who goes there? I warn you not to trespass." But she's not looking at you, so she hasn't spotted you. But it's your turn.
Well, I'm going to choose not to respond and just do double move, which brings me to about there. Did you want a new move silently roll, Bruno?
Yes, that's what you got.
Can't throw these dice away.
And change their color.
Oh.
So, would you like to hero point that? Or shall I go ahead with the description?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and try a reroll.
Okay, that's what she got. That's what you got. All right, so you make that move over there, but, your foot scrapes against the ground, or your stomach rumbles too loudly, and her head swings over in your direction. So you can tell by the focus of her eyes that she doesn't see you, but she's looking right towards where you are. And then from where you are, yeah, that's it. Okay, that's her turn. Now Fenrith. So you have lost sight of the dwarf. It's totally covered by the mouth of this massive worm.
Okay.
And you saw Rohan shoot it, but his arrow just deflected. His arrow's deflected right off of it.
So, does this look like a natural creature?
Well, it looks like I don't think you guys have encountered anything like it. It just looks like an enormous worm, but the chitinous plates on it that cover it, they sort of resemble dragon scales. And it is unnaturally dark, unnaturally black.
All right. Well, I will try to cast banishment on it. I don't know if that will work.
Okay. Banishment, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're... Okay, I got you.
I don't know if it's extraplanar or not, but it doesn't seem natural.
Hang on. Let me look at something real quick.
And I'll pull out some salt because all worms fear salt. Oh no, that's slugs, huh? Damn it.
Yeah.
What a worms fear. Fish. I'll pull out some fish.
Too much rain.
Right, go ahead if you want to cast that spell.
What does happen if you salt a worm? Nothing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do they just get coated in salt?
We could find out.
I don't really want to hurt a worm.
How do you know you'll be hurting it?
That's true.
If we're not going to do our own experiments, we could always Google it.
I don't know. Sometimes, you push a person off a cliff and you see if they roll and they hit the ground.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked, guys.
All right,
I'll
so
start
this would
backing
attempt
away.
to force an extraplanar creature back out of your home plane. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't have any effect.
All right. So yeah, I'll start backing up towards the
Is he able to tell?
hallway.
Yeah, we'll say you cast the spell, but then you get the sense that it's not appropriate.
Okay.
Like this thing is not extraplanar. Make sense?
Yep. I figured with the armor that maybe it was like a, demon or devil, like what we fought
Does it make sense?
earlier.
Do you hear me?
What's that?
You cast the spell, but it doesn't have any effect, then you get the sense that it's not appropriate. Like it doesn't. This is not an extraplanar creature.
Okay. So I'll start backing up towards the entrance to this place.
All right, and then so Casimir, before it's your turn, like where you're standing, you've got a good view of where the dwarf was, and now it's covered completely by this worm, and so you can actually see that the worm is actively burrowing through the stone, and just the edge of its mouth is lined up so you can see that that dwarf in there. You catch a glimpse of him. He's looking at you, and he says, "Don't come after me. Go with your friend." And then whatever else he says is lost in the sound of crushed stone and whatever. But It's your turn.
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of back up away from the worm.
Okay.
I mean, don't gotta tell me twice, friend dwarf.
All right. So then what happens next is... Oh, sorry. We'll do Graham first. Okay, Graham. We'll do you next. So her head swung in your direction, but it can't actively see you right now. But she definitely knows you're there.
Well, since she does seem to have pretty good senses, I guess I'll vaguely recall something Master said that before you resort to skullduggery, you might just ask the person for what it is you need. And I'll say, why shouldn't I trespass? And then I'll move 15 feet over silently.
Okay.
Acting like a kid that's about ready to get whooped when he gets caught on that one. Don't do that, Graham. What, this? Yes, that, Graham. Don't do that.
It's intended to be more curious than like back talking the creature. Why not? You're not the boss of me.
All right. So yeah, you say that and you move, and you can, and you're trying to move quietly, and you see that her head doesn't follow you. She's still looking where you had been when you said that.
Well, I want to get prepped up to defend myself, so I think with my standard action that's left, I'll take total defense there where I end up. And
Draw
that's
your
it for my
daggers.
turn.
Set your dodge.
Set my dodge, yeah.
Draw your daggers.
Okay.
Let's see here, Google. Do snakes have kidneys?
This scene in The Golden Child disturbed me when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. I'm more scarred by the Beetlejuice one.
Yeah, that's true too.
Good news, Graham. Snakes do have kidneys of a sort. So.
All right, so that's you. All right, so the Fenrith and Casimir and Rohan, you watch as this worm continues to burrow down at a really high rate of speed, just chewing through the rock. Just in this one turn, it'll burrow 60 feet down, and there is still some length of it that is underneath, back over the edge of the chasm. So, but that's what it does. It starts burrowing down, and so the dwarf is gone, and it remains to be seen once this worm finishes burrowing, whether it's going to leave behind a tunnel or not, because sometimes burrowing creatures don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what it's doing. And then Rohan, your turn.
I guess I'll take another shot at the tail, and then after that I'll back up the stairs, do one more shot, and then I'll move 30 feet up the stairs.
Okay. So yeah, your arrows deflect again, doing no harm.
That was the last of those fire arrows.
Okay. I still got haste for you, though. So that's almost just as good. It might even be better.
An extra attack, yeah.
All right. So Graham, this creature is still looking where you had been, and she says, "This is a sacred place. None may pass. I don't wish to hurt you. Please retreat." And then she casts a spell. So you can tell by, she utters the words to cast a spell. And let's see.
I should just take one rank in spellcraft. That way I can misinterpret the spells being cast all the time.
What you could do is you could write down what you hear.
Yeah,
and then attempt to use magic device to decipher it. Be like Google Translate.
Yeah, she casts a spell, and once she does, then her eyes lock directly on you.
That's cheating.
Let's see. All right, Fenrith, do you want to do anything to this worm?
I don't honestly believe that I can do anything to this worm.
Okay. All right, and Casimir, same for you.
Yeah, as long as the platform we're on doesn't seem like it's going to collapse, I'll just kind of stand there and sadly puff on my pipe and watch the worm burrow on.
So the worm continues to burrow down, and Graham. So now she's looking right at you, and she has said, "None can trespass. This is a sacred area." And she said she didn't want to hurt you. She seemed genuine. She has a look of concern rather than anger or fear.
Right. Well, I'll stay in my defensive posture. And yeah, I don't want to hurt you either. You see, the thing is, I have to go this way to help my friends, and I know you say it's sacred and all, but I have no plans to desecrate it. I'm just passing through. Maybe you could lead the way and show me so I don't mess anything up.
You say you want to help your friends?
Yes.
And how would coming through here help your friends?
Well, you see, the thing is, sometimes I have a hard time, unless I write it down, keeping track of the whys and the whos. But I have a really good feeling that it will help them. I was the only one who could come down this way. I left them stranded on a platform.
How did you reach this platform?
I don't quite fully understand it myself. I came down some glowing platforms over a couple of traps, like the one you got back there on the steps, and I made it here.
And who are your friends?
They're the other heroes of Cradle. You know, Casimir, Fenrith, Rohan.
Yeah, so no look of recognition crosses her face, and she just has like more of a confused look now. And she says, "We are bound to service here, and I simply may not allow you to pass. The king has bound us here for all time."
This doesn't happen to be a dwarf king, does it?
Yes, it does. King Vanebeard of Underhome.
I think he's with us too, although I don't know if that's his name. He does claim to be a king.
So at this, she draws up and does sort of a hiss, and she says, "King is with you? Do not lie."
I'm not lying. He was with me, or I was with him, rather.
Okay, so...
You'll know I'm lying when I chuck a D20 at you.
I haven't rolled my bluff skill.
So the rest of you, the worm continues its downward burrow, and when it finally, the tip of its tail finally disappears into that tunnel that it created, you estimate that it was well over 100 feet long. So the sound of its plating scraping against the stone was so deafening that now that it's gone, you're having that weird sensation where you're not sure if you simply can't hear anything or if there's nothing to hear. There is definitely some pain in your ears from the volume of it. But once it's disappeared, it has left behind a 10-foot diameter hole in the floor where the dwarf had been standing. And he's gone now. All right. Graham, let's have you do... Yeah, so it will do... She's going to do a spell on you. So do a will save. Yeah, so you can feel the effects of the spell as they settle over you. And she says, "Speak clearly and truthfully now. Describe the king."
I was. He's, yay tall, about as wide, etc., etc. If you think about it, if you let me by, you're kind of securing this place more in the long run. It's a small penetration of your security for greater defenses later on. That's about as much truth as I can give you, lady.
And what did the king tell you? Did he send you here?
Yeah.
And what did he tell you to do?
Well, he said he wouldn't have imagined me if he didn't need me to come through here, which I don't fully understand. He said I needed to get past the Guardian. I'm guessing that's you. But he made a mistake. I'm not actually the sneakiest one in our group, but here I am.
So she thinks for a few moments after you stop talking, and as she's doing that, 3 others come up to join her. Summoned by the noise, 3 others come up, and they begin conferring with each other, each of them in turn looking back at you. And let's do okay. So they keep peppering you with questions like, what's the king look like? What's he wearing? What words did he say? How long ago did you meet him? Things of that nature. And you answer all those questions as truthfully as you can when you know the answer. And eventually they seem to come to some decision together, and they step aside and they say that this is the time that has been foretold when our service may end. We will offer you no resistance. What you seek lies that way. And she points back, and She points that way. And then they all step aside.
Well, it was nice to meet all of you. And you know I'm speaking the truth. So I'll start marching past.
All right. So, so you march on past, and they step aside, and that brings, but you notice that they do follow you about 10 feet behind. But as you move along, you see this wide open cavern. It's a natural cavern. And you don't see any furnishings or anything at all like that. And these, and you've nothing to indicate how long these creatures have been here. But they continue to follow you. And eventually you come here to these steps, and when you look back, they sort of nod their heads to urge you on.
What are you guys going to do next? Ladies, are you all girls?
They are, yeah. They don't answer.
Well, I'll shrug. Are these steps trapped? You save me the trouble.
No, there's no traps in here.
Okay.
All right, so they were telling the truth. There are no traps, and you make your way through here, and they continue to follow you, and finally you stand before this giant lever.
What does this do? I'll start pulling on it.
All right, so they kind of crowd around to watch you. They're watching pretty intently, and you grab a hold of this lever, and you pull on it, and it gives a lot of resistance, but eventually you manage to pull it all the way towards the other side. And as you do that, when you look at them, you can see all of them have like a satisfied smile, like a wistful smile on their face, and they, before your eyes, they turn to stone.
Well, look at each of them. Yeah, see if they're actually stone.
They look like it, yeah.
Well, what else happened? Hopefully that's what I was supposed to do. I'll search around the room, though.
All right. Do a search. Nice. So you don't find anything of importance, but you do notice when you search behind that lever, there's some writing, very small writing, and what appears to be chalk on the wall down near the floor.
Okay.
And it says, Bango Skank was here.
No.
That's what it says.
I will grab my piece of chalk out and write, all paths follow the beam. What do they write? I don't know. Something like that.
Well, you could write Graham Flagg was here.
There we go.
Yeah, but that's the only thing of interest you find in there.
Okay. Well, I'll hesitantly make my way out of the room.
So is finding Bango Skank's call sign a low roll or a high roll?
It's pretty high.
Okay.
All right.
I wonder how many of those we missed.
So,
One in each zone.
Fenrith, Casimir, and Rohan, you guys are crowded around that entrance to the stairwell there. And some time passes, and there's nothing going on, but then you do, you feel a rumbling in the ground. Feel it shaking again. It's not as forceful and violent. This time it's more of a low and steady rumble and shake. But as you're looking out over the this balcony here, you see eventually a bridge rise up from the darkness and come to a stop level with the end of the platform. So, Graham, how long did you want to search around in here?
Not very long. In fact, having recently spent a lot of time wandering around on my own, I'm going to hope that the way I got here, I can also get back that way. And so I'll try that first.
Well, if it doesn't work, there's always that pit. You got 2 pits to choose from.
That's true.
All right, so back the way you came, Doesn't take you long at all to get there. And as you step back out or back into that tunnel, you've got the trap that you got to hop over.
Yeah, I'll leap it again.
But one thing that you noticed on your way here is that the effects of that mushroom seem to have worn off now. Like the world's not doing its rocking, and you don't have that same aggravating pain in your stomach.
Well, if that wore off sometime before I decided on that course of action, then maybe I will begin to explore my surroundings. So I'll just be overall systematic, and I'll mark places I've been with chalk, because if I try to wing it, then that's how I made it through the last thing, but it was a long way around. But back out in that bigger room,
yeah,
I'll head up to the north, I guess.
All right. Yeah, so now that those nagas have turned to stone, like I said, out in this area, there's nothing to indicate that it's ever been occupied. There's no stores, no food, no equipment, no bedding, nothing. It's just a large empty room. But you're wandering around, marking the walls and taking a close look at the stone. So far, up to this point, you haven't seen anything. So it's about, well, we'll switch back. What do you guys want to do now that this bridge has appeared?
The dwarf king told us to wait for him.
Not to come after him.
Not to come after him.
Yeah.
All right. So, is there anything that has changed or after the rumble, or
just that bridge?
Okay.
That bridge appeared, but you still haven't seen Graham. So this bridge itself is it's 15 feet wide, and it's made out of stone, and it has thick railings on either side. And it stretches out into the darkness. And you can see on it, even from where you're standing at the mouth to that stairwell, that it's heavily carved with, designs, artwork, scroll work, but also runes that, Casimir, you think might be more than just artwork.
Well, it looks like Graham succeeded.
It would seem so.
Are we going to wait for him to come back, or?
I'm torn on that.
What was that?
I said I'm torn on whether or not we wait for Graham. We don't know if this bridge will remain, and we don't know if he still lives on the other side. So,
well, I could scout it out. I could go across the bridge and see if he's on the other side.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, scout to the other side, or a minute.
Yeah.
Should be more than enough. All right. We'll wait here.
So I'll kind of go into a trot or a light run as I go across the bridge to try and get as far as I can.
Okay. So Rohan goes trotting off on the bridge, and
before you go, Rohan, the runes here may be more than just written language as well. Be careful.
Will do.
Sorry, Brandon.
No, it's all right. So you guys are going to wait while he does that?
Yeah.
All right. He goes running out on the bridge, and once he reaches the point where the light... Now, Rohan, are you going to have light on?
Yeah.
Okay, so Rohan's got his light, so you can see him as he goes trotting out on the bridge. And when he reaches the point where your vision would normally fall off, it falls off, and you can't see him anymore. Even though he has a light, it's like he just
turned it off.
So that's what you see, and that's that'll be about 90 feet away, I guess.
That's a pretty cool.
Now, Rohan, you're going across this bridge, and you notice it's very solid. It's very well made. The artwork, the scroll work is very intricate, and as it turns out, as you start across it, that outer shell of it certainly is stone, but the walking path seems to be gold paving, and gold is also used in some of the runes. They seem to have been had molten gold poured into the carving in the stone.
Okay.
So, and there's a lot of gems as well throughout this bridge on the walking path.
Okay.
And you do see runes like Casimir had warned you about, but none of them seem to do anything to you.
Yeah, I'll try to avoid stepping on or going directly over any of those.
In the past, you have also seen me actually cover my eyes to a point, like put a hand up between my eyes and runes, because understanding can trigger them too. At least that's what Casimir has said.
Okay. But yeah, I'll try not to interact with them in any way, shape, or form as I move across the bridge.
Okay. Graham, let me roll your... Yep. So, Graham, when you hop up on this platform and you're searching this area, that's when you spot something odd about the wall that draws your attention.
Okay, I'll investigate closer.
All right. So this section of the wall is either designed to open and allow passage, or was expertly carved to make it look like that. Now, you're looking at it and just trying to find what might open it. And you do eventually find two separate areas that require pressure in order to open that.
Okay.
And when it does swing open, as it turns out, the passage is meant for a large creature that travels on its belly, such as a snake with a woman's head that might guard special areas. So you'd have to crawl through here.
Nice tight enclosed space. Sounds like a party.
Always find myself in this situation. I'll start crawling in.
Okay. Now, Casimir and Fenrith. So, all right. So, Casimir and Fenrith, after Rohan disappears, can't see him anymore. Both of you put a listen in the tower. All right. So, yeah, you both hear. After Rohan disappears out of sight, about a minute later, maybe, you hear him screaming for you to come help. And you hear an explosion as well. And Casimir, you hear a deep voice in the midst of casting a spell, like a evil sounding voice.
All right, I'll spellcraft that.
So what is that?
Was it 15 plus spell level?
Yeah. So that spell being cast is, well, would you still know it if it's a higher level than you can cast? All right.
Yeah, I believe so.
So the spell that you hear someone casting is a spell called Finger of Death. But yeah, you both hear Rohan screaming for help.
Yeah, I'll hop up and start running.
Okay.
And I'll inform Fenrith, in case he didn't discern the spell, that there's a powerful wizard or a powerful spellcaster up that direction.
All right. Fenrith, are you going to give chase?
Yeah, I'll continue after.
All right. So, Rohan, you continue across this bridge, and you are quite suddenly at the end of it. It seemed to you like it went on quite a ways. The last time you looked up, you were looking at the ground to make sure you don't step on any runes, and then you look up and there you go. You're at the end. And the end of this bridge takes the path onto a very narrow path that snakes around to the left along the chasm wall on that side and leads into the wall about 30 feet later. And right there, you can see evidence that that path out of that opening used to be larger, but stone has broken and fallen away. And on one side of it, hugging the wall, of the chasm itself is the twisted remains of a length of iron track, and then that entrance. The entrance is actually pretty big itself, and it's buttressed by wood and steel planks. And so that's what you see now. You're standing at the end of the bridge looking at that.
Do I hear anything?
No.
And no sign of Graham or any sign of his passing. So I'll head back across the bridge, back to the others.
Or wait, hang on a second. Let's do... Where are you? So you actually do see a hat laying just inside that entrance.
Okay.
That looks like Graham's hat.
Was Graham wearing a hat when he...
I have a bandana type thing that I wear to cover my head injury.
Your lump?
Yeah, it looks just like that bandana thing that he wears.
You can look at my picture.
All right. Yeah, I'll go over to the bandana and keep an eye out for any blood or any other sign of struggle.
Okay. All right. So you go over to look at that bandana, and you can see that the passageway, while already pretty large, gets even larger just inside, and the ground has got a couple different sets of iron tracks leading down further, and you can see all the accompanying accoutrements of a mine, tools leaning up against a wall, and rusted mine carts. And you're turning this this bandana over in your hand, looking at it. And Fenrith and Casimir, you guys both owe me a will save.
All right.
Okay.
Can I hero point that?
If you want.
Nice.
Okay. So you guys are running along, chasing after Rohan, who was screaming. So you don't see the finer details of the bridge, but you do eventually see Rohan, and he's crouched down on the ground, and he looks like he's turning something over in his hand. And standing right in front of him is a creature cloaked in blackness. It could be a cloak, or it could be wings. It's hard to say, but it does have a what looks to be like maybe a dagger raised, and Rohan seems completely unaware of it. But that's where we have to stop for today.
I was wondering when the cliffhanger was going to happen. Unfortunately, this seems like an actual cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Oh, and you fall off a cliff.
Thank you. There. Now it's not so bad.
Thanks,
man.
Hey, Master and Brendan.
Yeah, thanks, B.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.